Good morning. Vimala's book, Intensive Self-Education. This chapter is called Relationship with the Whole. Life is a wholeness, and in this homogeneous wholeness, everything is interconnected, and this interrelatedness may be the content of the divine. Meditation is a way of living in which we can relate to the visible, invisible, and the immeasurable simultaneously in every movement. I'll read this again. Life is a wholeness, and in this homogeneous wholeness, everything is interconnected, and this interrelatedness may be the content of the divine. Meditation is a way of living in which we can relate to the visible, invisible, and the immeasurable simultaneously in every movement. We begin with the sensual level, with the visible world, and understand how we are actually related to it. When we look at some object, how do we look? Have we ever examined our way of looking? Have we ever taken the time to really watch it, to observe it, and understand it? Is our perception free from the process of conceptualization? Or do concepts and value structures get mingled in the process of perception? When we see the tree, do we perceive the roots of the tree that are under the earth? Do we perceive the mysterious interconnectedness of the tree with the earth, the water, the sun, and the space? Or does the perception get limited, polluted by the knowledge, the name, one's personal likes and dislikes, not leading to a communication with the tree? In a simple perception of a tree, a flower, or a bird, the mystery of the totality is revealed. Is it possible for us to be free of this superstructure of concepts and ideas at the moment of actual perception, so that the act of perception leads towards the mysterious interconnectedness and interdependency of everything that is and moves in the universe? Purity of perception could be the foundation of the awareness of the whole, the total. Perception where you see the particular not separated from the whole, but you see it as an organic part of the total. If the perception can get thus purified, then maybe in seeing the trunk of a tree or a bird on the wing, you see the totality of life. Then you will be able to look at a person without the pollution of your likes and dislikes. Purity of perception leads to choiceless communication. Our preferences and prejudices, our norms and criteria cloud the eyes, and we look, but we cannot really meet. To meet life, the visible reality through the senses, is something magnificent. In order that such a wholeness of perception can take place, it is necessary to educate the senses in an entirely new way of living. Through personal acquaintance, the wholeness of life is not an abstraction, it is a fact. The content of the wholeness of is the interrelatedness of everything that exists, lives, and moves around us. Whatever is visible and tangible in the universe around us is interrelated. The earth with the water with the fire with the wind, and the wind with the sky. The earth with the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the planets. The human species with the non-human species. Even the mountains and the oceans are interrelated. The wholeness of life is not an abstraction, it's not an idea. So one asks oneself, has one intellectually or verbally understood the nature of this interrelatedness of everything that exists in this universe? It is essential that there be clarity, at least at the intellectual level. Now suppose that one has understood it intellectually, then how does one travel from intellectual knowledge to a personal acquaintance with the total, with this wholeness? How do we do this? By observation. You observe the behavior of the non-human species. You observe the behavior of the mountains, the rivers, the skies, the sun, the moon, the planets, and their interdependence, their action and interaction, their responses to each other's movements. One has to observe that. Personal acquaintance is the result of personal observation. Then one lives that relationship with everything around oneself. One does not get isolated in arrogance of superiority that the human species has created about itself, believing that man is the master of the universe. The myth of human beings being a superior race to all the other non-human species has created a sick and rotten civilization. We are one of them, born to share life with all the non-human species. First one has to know about it intellectually, then through observation and watching, one gets personally acquainted with it, and then one lives that relationship. Then one lives responding to nature and receiving from nature only those things that are vitally necessary and not exploiting the nature to increase the needs and wants of human life. The understanding of the organic relationship and the interrelatedness that we have with the rest of the universe will change the quality of daily life. It will change our relationship qualitatively with everything. Articles of personal use, nutrition, clothes, houses that we build, and so on. Where understanding moves, awareness will be there. It is the fragrance, the perfume, the scent of understanding. You cannot create awareness through any other effort. It is not the result of your or my effort or action. It is a dimension that opens up in your being if you have the humility to proceed from verbal knowledge to personal acquaintance through observation. through the particular. For the inquirer, the question arises: how does one relate to the particulars and be simultaneously aware of the whole? This human body has many organs incorporated in it. We get related to the life around us with the help of the senses. Through the senses, you touch the particular. You can touch 10 or 12 particulars, but they are always limited and finite. The eyes cannot see the whole. The insight born of understanding can see the whole, but not the senses. You begin by dealing with the particular with attention, with thoroughness. You don't neglect and ignore one single particular in your daily living. All the particulars are the emanations of the whole, expressions of the whole. So you see the wholeness concealed in the part. You have no other way to get related to the totality but through the particulars. Is that not beautiful? When you are totally attentive, alert, and sensitive to the part, in that attentiveness, in that sensitivity, the awareness of the whole shall be there. You don't have to make an effort. Relationship with space. On a physical level, silence is a dimension of life. We are acquainted with forms, shapes, colors, objects. We are addicted to looking at forms. It's very rare that a person is aware of space, the formless space, the colorless, shape-free, all-pervading space within us and around us. Our lives are lopsided. We are related to objects and never to the space. The space that contains the forms, the formless that contains the forms, is the substance of life. But we feel that the space looks empty and void. Therefore, it has no substance or significance to us. But for all we know, the so-called emptiness of space contains the mystery of life. It contains innumerable waves and currents of energy, which we may not know at all, with which we may not be acquainted. We are acquainted with very few energies and their patterns of behavior, which we have tapped and geared for our purposes. But that is not all to life. That is not the totality of life. Life is the vast complexity around us. So if somebody says, please do get acquainted personally to the space around you, then feel it, be in it, move in it, live with it, move out of the space, in the space, and discover the nature of your organic relationship with the space. One is requesting it from a person who's blessed with the urge to find out the meaning of this firsthand and not borrow it secondhand from books and other individuals. Religion is the discovery of the meaning of life, a personal discovery. One has to investigate, explore, experience, and then one arrives at the holy understanding of the meaning of life. So you need to find time to be with the space, with the so-called emptiness of space. though emptiness is a misnomer. Emptiness of space is much fuller than all the solid objects gathered together. So, how does one get related to space? We have to live simultaneously on the physical, the psychological, and the non psychological level. Let us begin with the physical, which is visible and tangible, the way we live today. The style of our living obliges us to spend our time inside the house or office with objects and gadgets, always surrounded by the four walls of a building. You're probably not even aware of the space surrounding you. The so-called emptiness that surrounds you is a part of your organic being, and you are an organic part of that emptiness, that space. But you're probably not aware of it. When you open your eyes, you always see the objects, get related to them, use the space, but you never look at the space, the emptiness. One says to inquirers who are interested in discovering a different dimension of life and consciousness, please expose yourself to the emptiness of space, uncluttered by objects. One has to move out of the house, the apartment, sit under trees or visit a farm or a field, but be in the space, uncluttered by objects purchased and owned by you, so that the sense of I and my has no scope to enter into your perception. One can look into the sky, where there are no objects that will stimulate any sensations and provoke any interpretations. On the physical level, spending as much time as one can with the emptiness of space is vitally necessary. Firstly, the consciousness is freed from the sense of I and mine, so there will be relaxation. And the fresh air, the light of the sun or the moon, the greenery of nature, the glowing waters of a river, or the deep waters of an ocean begin to operate upon you. You are surrounded by nature which moves in the freedom of spontaneity. It doesn't react, it acts, and you do not have to react. So there is a relationship both ways, free from reactions. That is the second thing that happens. And the healing forces, unconditioned by thought and sophistication, envelop you in their embrace. On the physical level, one can learn to relate to space, to look into space, to feel the space, be in the space, and let it operate upon you. On the psychological level, what does this relationship with space imply? If you observe your way of living throughout the day, you may see that the mind reacts to everything it sees and hears. There's no space between what it sees and itself. It immediately rushes out towards the object and evaluates it, compares it, judges it, and reacts to it. It may not be necessary to react at all, but that has become the habit. Throughout the day, the process of reacting is going on, and we do not allow any space between the happenings around us and ourselves. This process of constantly reacting, evaluating, judging, expressing one's likes and dislikes, tires a person out. So one says, please create a space between the events that take place, the objects, the human beings that you see around you and yourself. Minimize the areas of reaction and response. Wherever it is not warranted, it is not necessary to react. One sees but judges not. One hears but reacts not. So there is space, psychological space. One is in a state of observation, which is a reaction-free attentiveness. You will also see that much vital energy is thus saved. On the non-psychological level, it is possible to relate to space by being in a non-reactional state of observation. Then the mind will remain fresh, and there will be no leakage of vital energy. When you expose yourself psychologically to the space, the grandeur and the magnificence of that emptiness full of life, it will melt away all your pride of knowledge, scholarship, and erudition. The grandeur of that mystery, having no center and having no periphery, soaks your being, and all the pride of the eye and its acquisition melts away without your effort. So when you expose yourself psychologically to the space, the grandeur and the magnificence of that emptiness full of life melts away all your pride of knowledge, scholarship, and erudition. The grandeur of that mystery, having no center and having no periphery, soaks your being, and all the pride of the eye and its acquisitions melts away without your effort. You don't even raise your finger. You don't have to do anything about it. Only exposure to that grandeur and magnificence of the bottomless emptiness of space fills your being with a new humility. You become aware then of the infinity of life, which is a mystery which words shall never uncover, explain, or interpret, like the mystery of love. The content of humility is receptivity. Normally, we are receptive with a motive. Motives create a direction, and the receptivity moves in that direction, which is exclusive. Receptivity is limited by our ambitions, wishes, desires, tendencies, and inclinations. Humility is total, uninhibited receptivity without any ambition, and therefore the mystery of totality of life can operate upon us without any resistance whatsoever. Even if the grace of life wants to descend into our being, the roads are often blocked by our ambitions to acquire the grace. Every desire for acquiring something or becoming something takes you away from the center of your being. The mystery of life gets uncovered in a non-verbal way, and the energy of intelligence that is activized in that space becomes aware of the meaning of life. And with that awareness, one moves through life. Then the mind has no power over the senses. It is the awareness that uses the brain, and therefore the movement of such a person is harmonious. Getting related to space is an education and results in total growth. So the mystery of life gets uncovered in a non-verbal way, and the energy of intelligence that is activized in that space becomes aware of the meaning of life. And with that awareness, one moves through life. Then the mind has no power over the senses. It is the awareness that uses the brain, and therefore the movement of such a person is harmonious. So getting related to space is an education and results in total growth. So have a very good day. This is the end of the reading of today. Bye for now.